Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have a real story that came in, the roller coaster of a situationship, a crazy romantic experience, real story. If you have a story you want to share, send it into writemac.com. We can unpack it in a live stream just like this. If you want to book a live coaching session, that's also available. So I thought it was kind of interesting because that wasn't my title. That was actually what this gentleman wrote for the title of his story when he sent it in. And I guess a situationship would mean he doesn't even know where he stands to start with. And a lot of times, what's up, G Money? Been looking for you in the daylight with a flashlight. So, yeah, this is a good one, G Money. You might want to stay on deck for this one. Yeah, today's a good one. Today's a good one. Right on, Rye Flint. VIP status. Let her through. Let her through. Let her through. We got B lifting the curtain here. Go ahead. Come on in. Come on in. Backstage. All right. So, yeah, the roller coaster of a situationship, a crazy romantic experience, real story. This is one of those things. It's really good for this guy to write this out because as I read this, he actually did, and people write in different styles, right? So I had showed Bean. I can call you Bean.
Don't call me Bean, man.
He wrote it point by point, which actually is very clear.
Right.
I've had people that are business people and they email you. Number one. Number two, there's no feelings.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I had a guy that was a landlord. I had a small business before here in Thailand. It would be like, number one, did you get the air conditioner fixed? Number two, rent's due on the 28th. Number three, and then he would just sign his name. It's like, oh, that was clean.
Clean.
Don't have a lot of emotion, do you? Don't have a lot of friends, probably. And he was single, and I don't even know what his. He was a dark character, man. I'll just say, yeah. He was one of those guys that you went to his house and he had some strange art.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking? Like robots and stuff.
I don't know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
no, it was just like you went to his house and it was like a 3-level shop house and it just looked normal from the outside. And then you went in and it was gutted. And he just had a loft and like stairs up to the loft. And there, like I said, there was like robots and metal on the walls and different things. He went in there and I was like, I've seen this in a fucking movie before. I'm going to get the hell out of here, dude. You know what I mean?
I'm not taking any
just
chances.
Signing the lease.
Right.
He's like, yeah, come to my house. It's like, shit, what did I get myself into? A little Silence of the Lambs.
Right.
All right. So I want to wait to start this if we have a few more people, just because when people jump in and they don't get the context of the story. But just to start, he titles it, I've been on a roller coaster of a situation. It was the craziest romantic experience of my life. Oh my God.
I believe him.
I would like to get your thoughts. Well, that's what we do here. I'm going to write it out on bullet points. Feel free to cut whatever you don't consider as relevant. Given the story's length, the stuff in brackets are mostly extra filler details. Bottom line is, whenever you write your story, and write as much as you want. Recently, I've had someone say like, oh, I watched one of your other videos that told me to cut it back. I'm like, no, write as much as you want. It's totally fine. As long as it's relative and it's part of a storyline. It's got some sequence to it. That's the thing that stories do. There's a sequence. So someone goes, oh, what's next? What's next? If you go all over the place and you're just in this blame game, oh, she was a narcissist. Oh, she didn't want to talk to me again. It's like, well, what happened? What happened? What happened? So more context is better. And it's a good time actually to write me when you do have a situation where you're not together and you're wondering why you got ghosted or thrown to the curb. Because those kinds of things sit with people longer if they're shocked by it or if they've never dealt with someone like this before. So they're in a situation where they're like, what's this all about? I've never had a situation like this. What's up, Brian? You're just in time. I'm going to break down this story. Trying to get my air conditioning right here. Let's get that right. Let's drop it. It's a little warm in here today. All right. So getting into it. Let me pull it up real quick. So we were both 29. What a great age. I remember 29 fondly. It's right when I moved to Thailand. I had big plans and I made it happen, man. So we're both 29. Her brother-in-law and I met by chance at a local cafe, spoke for 5 or 10 minutes. She grew up in a very rural area. I didn't, though. I have a lot of extended family here, and I moved here roughly a year ago. She mentions that she has been very lonely here and that she was a single mother. Now, there's a lot of negativity out there about single moms and dating and whatnot. I think even a live stream about 3 or 4 weeks ago, someone asked me the question, would you? I kind of paused for a moment, but I have nothing against that. I don't think that's a red flag off the get-go. I think it's up to you when you're dating a single mother. The reason why I'm saying this, to put it in context, there's a lot of negativity out on YouTube. Oh, that's just a red flag. Don't ever date a single mom. I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way at all. So if that was the case, what I always tell people is just know that it's going to be different.
Right.
You're not going to be number one all the time.
Are you good with kids? Like,
are you good with kids is what I told you. If you do meet the kid, do you like the kid?
Yeah,
remember when I told you that? You're like, yeah, like because you don't have built-in love. So those are some things to consider. She immediately said she would find me on Facebook and contact me. She double messaged me. I don't even know what double message means. Like, does that mean 2 messages? Yeah, me, when I hadn't replied within a few hours, then she found my brother-in-law on Facebook with just his first name and the other province in our area he lives in. She messages him, asked for my phone number, and asked whether I'm single. So she's hot in pursuit here. She seems interested in your picture and your profile. I would say that's a positive. But now after we connect the dots on this whole thing, it might be, early stages of a clinger here, of a clingy.
Early on like this? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I reply later that night. She's initiating texting with me every day, often double, triple messaging. If I didn't reply for 2 to 8 hours, she was showing very high interest. All right. High interest is one thing. Needy or clingy interest without knowing you very well. Okay. I mean, just keep that in mind. Is it a good thing? You still got to meet up and date, but looking back, it probably wasn't. But you know what? You lived in a small town, you'd probably like the attention. So that's fine. It quickly becomes obvious that she was very anxious, preoccupied attachment style, which all future interactions pretty much verifying this. All right. So if you know me as a coach, totally fine. If that's, you want to get just repeating anxious, preoccupied attachment style is a big piece of work in my mouth, right? It's like, have you ever identified anyone like that? You're like, oh, damn it. I got another anxious, preoccupied attachment style here. Knew it.
Daily. No, I never, never have. Never.
I know attachment theory is big. I know that it's a way to put someone in a box. Let's just focus on the problems. I just feel like once you start doing that, you start labeling everyone and attachment styles. There's only 4 of them. And then you get caught in this thing of like, well, what attachment style there are? Just fucking date, dude. Like, and deal with the problems. Attachment style. You know what's amazing about attachment styles is I'm gonna have to look this up now because there's people that are really dug in on attachment styles. They really love labeling people with these. They weren't really used in the 70s, 80s, or 90s by common people. This was a term that would probably be more used clinically, but it's been around for like 60 years or 70 years. So the internet, what happened was, I studied this a little bit. The internet had, dating advice blogs, and they would put this out there. So now everyone's an expert on it. I'm not saying you're wrong that she's an anxious, preoccupied attachment. I just don't think it helps you because I just want to know what makes her that. What are the stories? What are the problems? Now we just put this huge label on it. By the way, it doesn't sound good.
When you're saying that right off.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good. She mentions that all of her past relationships failed because they stopped being fun. This is big. So if anyone you're dating, man, woman, or whatever you want to call them, says, all my relationships failed because this, you're next. So that's going to be the trail they go towards. Obviously, having fun, being adventurous is on their list. She's a bit aggressive with the messaging, right? We can identify that. So also just a, little inkling, surprise, newsflash. People that tend to be more adventurous tend to stray a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's overwhelming for most people. Oh, man. I'm overwhelmed. So I am statements. I'm assuming that she says I'm overwhelming for most people.
Yeah.
She's going to be overwhelming for you. So don't think like, oh, I can handle it. I mean, also you might say, well, what do you mean by that, hon? How are you overwhelming? I would be curious. To me, if you said I'm overwhelming for most people, it's too much.
Yeah.
And that her ex still wants her back, but she doesn't want him. That's her side of the story. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're still connected also. So there's three things there that aren't very positive. I mean, to me, to tell me like, oh, about my past relationship, all my exes, they just stopped being fun. So right there, you're like, am I fun enough? By now, it's becoming clearer that she's having some mental health struggles, though to what intensity was still unknown. So this is where you go on YouTube and you watch 1,000 videos. You start doing the anxious attachment thing. You start diagnosing her with things. You start feeling this out. If you don't have mental health struggles, and here's the biggest one. You don't have her mental health struggles. Even if you went, oh, you know what? I had depression before. Not the same she had. Mm-hmm. So when you're dating someone or you're starting to see someone and you start this mental health struggles, I would just back off. You're not the one. You're not going to fix her. But for some reason, people go deep, like they go deeper and deeper with people like this. It's like if I was dating someone and they went deep into a mental health thing, I'd be like, okay. It doesn't mean I would abandon that individual. Mm-hmm. It just means that they're probably not ready to be in a relationship where I'm at, if that makes sense.
Right.
All right. So 2 days before our first date, Jesus, you got a lot of background before the first date. 2 days before our first date, she goes on about how horny she is for me, how she has stopped feeling the sexual desire until she saw me, which really triggered it for her. I think it triggered it for you also, probably. Okay. Well, I mean, that's a solid, no pun intended. During our first date, after I make it clear that I don't want to be a father figure to her children, and she said that she was good with that, we hook up. All right. I mean, that's a bit heavy. But you putting that out there on the first date. All right. So you're setting a boundary. You're doing all those things. Mm-hmm. Just realize, even though she hooked up with you, it's probably not going to be long term for her either.
If she plans to keep the kid around for a while.
Yeah. I mean, even if her expectation wasn't for you to be the father figure, right, you saying that in that way up front, which is totally fine. It's fine if that's the way you feel. It's going to erase you from a future role. Don't you think, B?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She was by far the most passionate and aggressive woman I've ever been with during a first time together. You liked it, probably. She taught me some new things. All right.
Cool.
So let's just identify that the number one reason why you're even writing this right now, you're still involved with this woman, is because this first time knocked your socks off and made you feel good. Intimacy leads with a lot of men. So you overlook the anxious, preoccupied attachment style. You overlook the mental health struggles. You overlook the fact that I don't want to be a father figure to her children. Bingo. She's passionate and aggressive woman. That's where she got you. That's a barbed hook there. Turns out she lied about how long she was single. 2 years versus 1 month. How do you know? She only sort of disclosed that about 1 hour after us having intimacy for the first time. Mm. I mean, why would she even lie about that? I don't even know why that would come up after your intimacy.
Yeah,
it's a little shady anyways. That threw me off for a minute there. I'm like,
Yeah.
I like the way you detailed this, though. This helps. She also lets me know her ex was abusive. He has custody of their 3 young. So she has 3 kids.
3 kids.
Wow. 3 young children. And he had stopped letting her see them once she left him. Just a few weeks prior to meeting me, that's how I deduced how long she had been single, because I knew when she last saw her children. I don't know if you can draw that conclusion.
From that? No.
Yeah, it sounds like you're playing detective here.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this. This is a mess. And I'm only halfway through the story. This is a total mess. And why are you even entertaining possibly getting back with this individual? I mean, this is one of those ones, don't walk, run. Okay, just move on. You guys had some good intimacy. Call it a day. Pointing out, oh, she lied to me. She did this. Done. She's got 3 children, not 1, and you've already declared, I don't want to be a father figure. The fact that the guy has custody, why? I mean, there had to be a court decide who was better. I'm guessing.
And usually that's not the way it goes.
Well, I mean,
it does, but
I'm not judging on that level, but you know what I'm saying? Sounds like the guy that was the abusive ex was more stable than she was in some capacity. She has a victimhood mindset, blaming him for most of her struggles. All right, so now we have anxious, preoccupied attachment style, which I would just prefer to get into these other things, like she breaks up over people not being fun anymore. She's got 3 kids. The list goes on here. So you're building a case of why you wouldn't want to be with someone like this. After our first date, she basically begs me to come see her again sooner, of course, rather than a week away like originally planned. I oblige, what a great word, after I got a bit ahead in my work, or a day or 2 later. She was eyeing me as her rebound relationship, mentioning specific fun and romantic things we should do together out of town months from now. So a lot of people would call this love bombing. She knew that I was probably moving away from the region in about a year, and given her children are here, and at best she will get shared partial custody. So right off the bat, just the fact that you have a strong opinion on not being a father figure, and she's got 3 kids. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have a long-term relationship and, hey, make sure the kids aren't there when I'm there. Or I don't want, if the kids are there, I don't want to talk to them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You declared this sharp line about that. She would tied into this area. So whatever we're going to have would probably only last about a year at most. That's just a guess. She was constantly showing me loads of affection. Okay, loads of affection. Saying things like, you make me feel so safe and comfortable. I cannot stop thinking about you. I literally never have this happen. Yeah, this is love bombing, which just means that this is how she gets into relationships. It feels like we have known each other forever. I cannot believe you are still seeing me. That's a red flag. I cannot believe you are still seeing me. That means she doesn't feel very good about herself or worthy.
Like her issues, and then like, oh my God, you're still with me.
Can't believe you're still with me. Wow. With all my problems, literally that's what it says. With all my problems, no one ever treats me this well or cares for me. So the problem with that is you're thinking like, oh, great. I must be the greatest boyfriend on earth, or guy that she's seeing, because this isn't a boyfriend thing. But the reality is, no matter how good you are, if she believes that, anytime you show an ounce of, I don't know, negativity or an ill statement, she's going to run with that and go, here we go again. You don't care about me. I'm not good enough, ... And within 2 weeks knowing her, she was sending me unprompted, partially nude photos and a video. So good for you. I'm sure this is what helped you stay in the relationship. So just to be clear, all this other yig yam that you're, going on about her problems, I think the photos and the videos, the nude shots, probably kept you in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I genuinely liked her. We had common interests and hobbies, instant rapport. I mean, you're giving me all this negative background, but and I deeply cared about her, probably in part because her struggles reminded me of my own struggles 5+ years ago, though I wasn't at her level of interest for me. Well, here's the thing, dude. You're 29, right? You're single. She's got 3 kids, right? She's looking for a provider, someone to be a rock in most cases. You've already established you don't want to be that part. So her interest is going to be a little bit more higher than yours, a little bit more in depth. That's usually how it is for single moms. It's not a negative.
Just a reality.
It's not a negative,
Yeah.
but it's a reality. Like you said, I held back in expressing as much interest with her, reciprocating at a level just a bit lower than her. Up to this point, I had been showing up really well, present, calm, warm, gentle, kind, and I did not chase her at all. Wow, great words. I'm just curious, what's your attachment style? This is what always gets me when people identify other people's attachment styles, but they don't have their own. Or they just go, oh, mine's secure. By the way, my take on the attachment styles is they're situational. They're not defined on every moment. Our third last date wasn't that good, with her ex having threatened to never let her see the children again if she dated anyone else. I found this out weeks later via one of the Facebook posts.
So she has to go through life not dating anybody?
I didn't comfort her despite seeing she was more anxious than usual. She has severe anxiety. I thought when she smoked some THC, it would calm down again. So weed, THC. I knew something happened with the ex and that he had found out about me, came up twice briefly in passing during the date. I tried to cheer her up in other ways, which failed. I simply didn't recognize how bad it was. Well, obviously you know now by what you wrote. So this is what's really good. Hindsight is 20/20. Or I would have adapted to be more emotionally deep with her sooner than I... No. This isn't one of those things where you're like, oh, I could have done things better on my end. No. This is a wounded. Okay? This is what this is. This is a wounded individual. She's got a lot of issues. She's got anxiety. She's got 3 kids. She's got an ex breathing down her neck. All these things. And you're acting like, oh, if I was emotionally more deep with her sooner, for what? She then goes lukewarm cold on me by the end of the date. We did hook up, though, with her not enjoying cuddling together at all, unlike the last time, which she absolutely loved. This is one of those, if she has mental health struggles, women are already emotional and up and down a lot of times anyways. You add in emotional pain, you add in an abusive relationship prior to you, and you just got to be fucking honest with yourself, man. You're putting together all these things of these negativities that she has. Why are you still entertaining what you could have done right? Even if you did everything textbook by YouTube, by all the coaches out there, this relationship's doomed from the get-go because she already thinks that no one ever treats me this well. That's a big statement. I have mental health struggles, right? You're not going to be the one to overcome this. And by the way, you stating at the beginning, I'm just going to come back to it, I will not be a father figure for your kids. It's like, well, okay, you're not in the race for too long. I'm not saying that that's what she's looking for, but it didn't land well, guaranteed. And if she didn't care about that, having 3 kids, I don't think that's a good thing.
If that's not what she's looking for.
I mean, if that didn't upset, you know what I'm saying? If she's like, oh, no problem, I don't care. Twice it came Twice it came off as she was annoyed that I was too busy to see her sooner than a week away. I had unusually busy work, which she didn't realize is a rare occurrence. I found out weeks later she had been crying herself to sleep that week over her ex's threat and maybe over me not consoling her. Though she never directly asked me for support or a video call or anything. See, now your hindsight, like, oh, if I would have done this, this is a wounded situation, okay? So you go over there and you console her. What happens if the ex shows up and now you're in the middle of that? This probably explains part of why she wanted to see me sooner. Probably, maybe, I think means I don't know. Just get out of this relationship. You're just building a case of why you need to be away from this. After this date and after the third date, she hints that she wants rougher sex, and much of her talk with me was intimate in nature when she wasn't saying the other more affectionate things. All right, well, that's a call you got to make, right? At one point that week, she messaged me like, I like you. You have been so nice to me. Translation, I'm not usually treated very well, so this is foreign to me. I don't want to lose you. You've only been out on a few dates and you get a, I'm sorry if I say anything wrong. I don't want to lose you. She double messaged me 30 minutes later about replied. At one point this week, she messaged me, I like you. You have been so nice to me. I was about to get the let's just be friends speech. We had our first sleepover plan for about a week after our last date. I do wonder if she saw that as a big next step for us. She hyped up that sleepover a ton just 3 days prior to the day. The day before the date, she cancels. And without any prompt explanation, she back explains her hot and cold behavior of the past week by saying, it turns out that I started feeling the symptoms of bronchitis since our last week. Okay. Around that time when I started to lose my emotional composure, though I mostly held it together. It later turns out that that day she canceled was the day she had begun seeing the new rebound guy. She gives me the I'm in a dark place right now line, but didn't say anything explicitly about us not dating anymore. She then tries to turn me into her therapist, not even platonic vibe and definitely not romantic, purely emotional venting. I set some soft boundaries by politely ending those conversations quickly. She keeps trying. I set more firm boundary after a few days of this, more or less saying in a polite way that I don't want all of our dialogue to be like this, though maybe one day I would be your shoulder for such things. She replies, yeah, perhaps. I mean, you're looking at the situation like what's good for you. This is a woman that got out of an abusive relationship a month ago and has 3 kids and is chasing you hard off of Facebook and then seeing, you know what I mean? Like so you're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to set some boundaries on you venting to me. But if you end up being closer to me, then I'll listen to you.
I'll listen, yeah.
It later turns out that she took this as evidence that I didn't care about her. To be frank with you, I don't mean it means that you don't care. It just means that you're not interested in having a relationship where you're her shoulder to cry on. And guess what? She's going to have some things to cry about. So the idea that you put up this boundary, I'm fine with that. And then after you put the boundary up, you're wondering, well, I could have done this right. No. If you don't want to be that way, that's fine. But that's how that relationship's going to transpire. And that's not nuts of her to think that you don't, if women are emotionally with you, if you're sleeping together, they want to talk about their problems sometimes. She happens to have a lot, it sounds like. So the next day she updated her Facebook relationship status as in a relationship without telling me beforehand that we were done. So I can just tell you one thing, just get rid of Facebook unless you need it for work. Stop tracking her. Okay. She had been dating him for 4 days by this time. She backdated the relationship. That was fast. He is in his 40s, whom in some photos looked old enough to be our father. Sounds like you're bitter. And others bit more like his age. So you're checking out this guy. Some of his photos, he looks like he can be my father. Some of it could be my age. Let it go. This is not a woman to chase at all, let alone track. She'll have from what you've described, she'll have a bunch more guys in the next year. I do wonder if her quick move to lockdown was out of fear to be alone. Her anxious attachment style plus loneliness. Don't read too much into it. Okay? You weren't going to be the one. I think you're really doing a lot of judgment about her. And I don't mean that like, oh, you don't judge people or anything like that. You're not assessing you and what your intentions were. I set boundaries. I said I don't want to be a father figure. Why are you dating a woman with 3 kids? Right? Why are you dating a woman that's been abused a month ago and you're like, I don't want to listen to her problems? The reality is you want the intimacy, you want the attention, but you don't want to deal with her issues and her problems. And guess what? There's going to be a lot. She's not stable. It later turns out that she took this as evidence I didn't care. The next day she, okay, saw that. By this time, I've nearly completely lost my emotional composure. I craft a very carefully written letter a few days later, send it over via, Facebook. That's Messenger. After sitting on it for 12 hours, it explained how I seen the way things unfolded in a neutral tone, that I was hurt and unimpressed. So that just that just says what you feel, which is just great progress. She hurt you. I don't know about unimpressed. That seems okay. If that's what you feel, I wished her the best. I never begged or pleaded, nor was dude. She's already with someone else. So when you send the thing like, "Hey, I'm not impressed. Oh, I wasn't hurt," it's like, what was your intention? I'm gonna guess to hurt her or get her attention.
Right.
I never begged or pleaded, nor was the tone angry. Some parts were hurt in tone. She flipped the script on me, blamed me, and said I didn't care about her or have enough time for her. That's how she felt. That's how she felt. I believe her. And you're going, well, some of the things you said, like, I set my boundary. I don't want to talk about that. Okay. By the way, you're lucky it's over. This is all my children. This is like a 2-year relationship on all my children. Okay? This was a real surprise to me, given how much I actually did care about her. I had so much empathy for her. All right. I'm going to stop you there. I'm not going to say you're a jerk or a bad guy at all. Your tone of what you've written is not completely empathetic, and that's okay. Maybe that's not the kind of person you are, and you certainly haven't gone through what she's gone through. You don't have 3 kids. You haven't been in an abusive relationship. So you really can't empathize. Empathize. Thank you. I'm still wanting her back. Why? The only thing I can think is you're desperate. You haven't had someone in a long time.
Well, the sex was great.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thanks, B. Elephant in the room. Go.
There you go.
I'm still wanting her back. Go, oh shit, this was just a misunderstanding. I can fix it and try to. This isn't she's already with another guy. This was a shallow relationship, meaning that it wasn't very deep. Okay. She's one of those. She's going to move on to the next, which I don't have a problem with. That's her prerogative. It was hot and heavy on you, so you thought you were special, which it's okay. You weren't. Usually how it starts with you is how it starts with another guy. So like, it's kind of ironic. I've had some clients that are like in their 20s and they're dating. They're like, we haven't even hooked up yet. We haven't smashed. That's the term. We haven't smashed yet. Right. And I'm like, all right, how many? Well, it'd be the 3rd or 4th date. I don't even know if I could smash on the. It's like, well, if you do hook up, it's gonna be special. She might be a girlfriend type. You know what I mean? Like, if you do hook up on the first date and she's stalking you on Facebook due to your pictures and she's all over you, you're not the first guy. That's how she operates. You liked it when it was about you. But when she pivoted out of the relationship, you're like, whoa, 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 your attachment such and such. Right. She seemingly believes me about caring issue and almost agrees to meet up. Then she reverted back to blaming me and wanting a week of space. Oh, dude, she's just going to keep you as a backup for this 40-year-old guy that she's dating now. You're not going to change that. So as long as you act like, oh, I'll be on the sidelines, I'll be the backup quarterback, I'll come in when someone's injured, that's how she's going to treat you, bud.
Sure.
No contact begins early October. I wouldn't even, this is not a no contact situation. This is a no fly zone. This is a bye-bye. This is done. I mean, what? I mean, B, is this a no contact? I mean, no contact. This is a no. If you're going no contact, this is more like, I don't ever want to revisit that again. 2 days later, less than 10 days into dating, she's posting on her Facebook now. She loves the new guy, that he saved her from a dark place, and he wants to marry her one day. I bet the new guy that's at 40 something probably said something to the effect of, I'll be happy to take care of your kids. I'm just going to guess. I could be completely wrong. Or he probably was a little bit sweeter in listening to her problems. Guess what? Go for them. Mm-hmm. You weren't willing to do that. And you probably would have been miserable. Mm-hmm. You wanted her to earn your empathy the way it made it sound. Remember when he said that? Yeah. This is, by the way, this is great that you wrote this, because you're really getting some good feedback on this. Describes him in the same way she described me. Gentle, sweet, that they have normalized, difficult conversations. Well, it sounds like she's got a type. He was a white knight, it seems. So now another label that you found online to put someone down that took your spot. Okay. I don't know if he's a white knight or not. This is a situation. It's like, take her, man. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Within an hour of her posting those things, she tries to get my attention by liking one of my old Facebook posts. So she was still thinking about me while pumping this other guy up. Stop putting weight into Facebook like posts, okay? 5 days into no contact, she likes another of my old Facebook posts. You know what she's doing? Just stay on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. I'll just drip feed you some attention. I'll just drip feed you a little bit of attention, and I'll just
just in case things don't work out.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. And you're like, oh, she's just doing no. She's got your attention every time she just likes one of your posts. 7 days into no contact, she posts an angry message on her Facebook, which sounds like it was about me. You're doing a lot of assuming, a lot of thinking, and you don't know. I want a relationship with someone who asks why I have been quiet all day. Not someone who just expects me to get over my trauma. Now, I'm not laughing about the trauma, but she just needs professional help. She needs a therapist. She needs time. If she was 1 month out of a relationship where she was abused, she needs time to process everything. And getting into relationships where people don't want to be a part of that, it's okay. Because it's not you. Mm-hmm. It's like we were doing a live coaching. A lot of this is focused on her. I'd be asking you more questions about you. God, I got to take a break and check the live stream here. Hold on. There's still more to this.
There's more.
We got 11 on deck. All right. Wow. All right. Is everyone still on deck listening to this? Good. We got 11. Little intermission here.
This was a very detailed letter.
It is. It's like I'm on a marathon. I'm getting a water real quick. All right. There were other cryptic Facebook posts around that time, which may have been out about me as well. May have been, huh? These are called open loops in psychology. It's the same thing what a cliffhanger is in a movie. And I have a secret remedy. What do you think it is, B?
I don't know.
Eliminate Facebook, dude.
That,
yeah. Like, stop checking Facebook and trying to be Nostradamus and trying to be a psychic. There were other cryptic Facebooks around this time, which may have been about me. Less obvious, less shady. 17 days into no contact, she reaches out. Hey, how are you? Been thinking about you. Hope you're okay. Like I said, hey, man, how's the sidelines? It's all right. We might get you back in the game eventually if you're good. I just want to check if you've been filling up the water bottles and everything like that. And I'm saying this, if you take that personal, it is what it is. Because she's seeing someone else. She's just checking. Guys do this too. Mm-hmm. Guys do it too. Like they might have a girl that was interested, they used to hook up with. They just check in every couple months.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, like what's,
Yeah.
They do it too. This was followed up 30 minutes later by a Facebook canned shared post, which basically said, I know it didn't work out between us, but you are selfish for not being my friend when I need your emotional support. If it's meant to be, maybe one day it'll work with us. So what? You don't want to be her friend. You definitely didn't want to be her emotional support. You actually wanted her to earn that.
Mm-hmm.
So just move on. Agree to disagree. I ignored her message. 18 days into no contact was her 30th birthday. I didn't wish her a happy birthday. Why would you? 19 days into no contact, 19 days into no contact, she posts on her Facebook that I feel bad for hurting someone. Likely about me? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
The way you've described this woman, she's been with a few dudes. So you're reading way too much into Facebook. I would highly recommend you book a live coaching session. 21 days, she updates her Facebook photo to one of them smiling together, and she posts one of the romantic getaways she wanted us to do together, tagging him. The photo was several weeks old, given her hairstyle and clothes compared to old photos. I want you to go apply for the FBI. This is excellent work, Sherlock.
Great detective work.
Come on, man. Seriously? The timing of this might have been another one of her strange, spiteful protest behaviors for my ignoring her message and apology. Might have been. Since that time, she has pretty much stopped sending me cryptic messages via Facebook post. She might send you some more, but cryptic messages? What's the code? I mean, when you think about a cryptic message like Morse code, is that what they used to call Morse code?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't even have the, you know what I mean? Like,
you don't have the cipher.
Right. I mean, if it was hieroglyphics from fucking Egypt, you could go to someone and be like, what is this? You're just making up these cryptic messages for whatever you want to believe them to be. Mm-hmm. The one sounded like it might have, you've said might be about 15 times. Been about me betraying her trust. It was vague enough. I could have been with other people. Her latest Facebook posts are her doubling down on the new guy, posting she's with a new guy. It's not her doubling down or trying to get your attention. She's with someone else. And like I said, when you mentioned, oh, he's in his 40s, he looks old. The dude probably stepped up and did what you didn't want to do. She's got 3 kids. You declared when you met her on the first date, I don't want to be a father figure. Okay. And then you declared another time that, hey, I don't want to listen to your problems, but maybe some other time I'd listen to them maybe further. So maybe this guy fit that role better. What about that for a maybe? Oh, she's just trying to get me back. No. So her latest Facebook on her doubling down on the new guy, posting things like, I want him to propose by the end of 2020. She's 29 with 3 kids. She'd love to be proposed to. Great relationships happen when both people care enough to work out their differences. Great line. I don't find that cryptic at all. I still haven't replied to her 3-week-old message, so that's the story. Thanks for being detailed. But there is 3 more paragraphs, by the way. We're about 40 days into no contact. Here's the interesting. We're about 40 days into no contact. I bet she doesn't look at it as no contact because she's with someone else. She has been seeing the new rebound guy. This is lovely. This is what happens all the time. Mm-hmm. This is great that you send this in because people ask me this. What do you think about rebounds? Sometimes they work. Sometimes they don't become a rebound. Rebound is just a negative label for the person that didn't get in a relationship afterwards. Mm-hmm. If she's in a rebound relationship and it doesn't work and it becomes like, oh yeah, it's obvious it was a rebound. Who cares? For about a month and a half, I have the sense that she wants to make me one of the her male orbiters. I wouldn't say you're a male orbiter, but you're an online stalker. All these Facebook posts that you're trying to figure out, and still has some feelings for me, though she also has resentment and bitterness towards me too. I think one of 4 things happened with her. in terms of her attraction dropping. Dun, 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 dun. Are you guys ready on the live stream here? This is excellent. Thank you for writing this, by the way. I think one of the 4 things that happened with her in terms of her attraction dropping, number 1, her self-limiting, so this is on her, not you. Her self-limiting belief, you should see B right now. He's like this. We've lost him. He's over it. He's had enough of this one. It's like her self-limiting belief of no one cares for me, combined with her fear of abandonment, were projected onto me due to my choice to try to keep things light and fun as a distraction for her rather than to dive into her darkness, since that's what's helped me most when I was struggling like her. All right, so this is beautiful. You're not her. You didn't have 3 kids. You weren't abused by your last partner. Right there alone, when you're like, this is what I did when I struggled, your struggle was different. You'll never know her path to her struggles and her personality. She genuinely thought I didn't care, was cold, and wasn't able to meet her emotional needs. I didn't get that from what you wrote. I feel like she's on the hunt for a new guy. Some women are more aggressive than others. And you know what? I've told other women this. They end up with a guy. And guess what? You think you were being light? Like I said, she's a single mom of 3 kids. She doesn't want a light relationship.
Right.
She doesn't want that. So it's not that you misread things. You wanted something different. And you're like, oh, she imposed this on me. Yeah, because she wanted something different. So you know what you do? C'est la vie. I wish you all the best, hon. That's all. Mm-hmm. Number 2, the gentle and sweet and loving intimacy, as she put it, rather than the rougher intimacy, actually mattered to her a lot. Given her focus on intimacy and prowess in bed, she wanted a more masculine, dominant experience. Well, you know what? I wasn't in that scene to witness that. So if it was an intimacy issue, okay. I think that probably, if I had to guess, and you didn't write anything about this, you probably had a dry patch prior to this. And so water tastes really good in the desert. And in a situation like this, I think this is what won the day. The fact that when you were in the bedroom, she was more dominant, or she was more aggressive or rough, or whatever. People have different things they like. And if you haven't been with a lot of partners, or you haven't been in those experiences, you'd be like, what the hell is this? Right? So if you guys didn't line up in that area, that's okay too. That's no one's fault. Right? I've had female friends that like basically broke up with guys they were dating because of some of the things the guys like to do. I'm not going to repeat them because I was like, what? Finger where? Right? It's like, huh? And she was like, yeah, I just said we can't keep doing it this way. Right? Mm-hmm. So if that was the case, fine. Number 3, it stopped being fun for her, which may or may not relate to 1 and 2, but might also relate to the dates being fairly well. I mean, judging how analytical you are about things, I would say that that could be not fun. She wanted things her way. Mm-hmm. She put out quickly. She was aggressive, and she wanted you to be there for her, and you wanted to take things light. You're on 2 different wavelengths, dude. I was too much of a pushover, or too nice. Could be. Do you like who you are? Now, here's the thing to ask yourself. You're better off without this woman? Or if you would have, let's say you wouldn't have been the pushover. Let's say you would have been that dominant, masculine man in the bedroom. Let's say that she would have thought you were the most caring individual she's ever met in her life, and everything was rose petals and wine glasses, and you guys lasted a year. How long do you really think you would have lasted? This individual just doesn't seem mentally stable. So I'm wondering about 2 different themes. It goes on, B. B's like, come on. Can we move on here? Did I lose anyone in the live stream? Because I'm just reading this right now. Come on. Are you guys ready? Oh, we still got some more people on deck. All right. Joe Helka, how you doing? So I'm not done. I'm wondering about 2 different themes here. How do I move on? Read this story every day twice as a stranger. That's fucking good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little pat on the back here. I mean, this is beautiful. Read it as a stranger. Or give it to like one of your friends and say, this is a friend of mine that wrote this in. What do you think? Because, I mean, what you wrote here, you just built this huge case of why you would never date this woman. Okay? Ask yourself this also before you move. Before you move on, you have to accept what happened. You keep trying to build this case of how bad a person she was. She did all these Facebook posts. And I'll tell you one more thing. Let go of the cryptic shit. Get off of Facebook. Stop being Sherlock Holmes on the internet. Okay? So those things alone will help you. Oh, I have a lot of friends on Facebook. I don't want to block them. All right, well, then just keep trying to figure out messages online. And every time you see her with this 40-something-year-old guy that you're like, oh, he's old. It's like, okay.
Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, it's not. So erase the access to Facebook. Accept that you broke up. Actually embrace the fact that you ended out of a relationship that was never going to go anywhere anyways because she had 3 kids and you never wanted to be a father figure. That was going to be on the agenda at some point.
That was the first thing, right?
She didn't make a big deal out of it, so he thought to himself, oh, cool, man. But 6 months, a year down the road, you're not going to take the kids to Chuck E. Cheese? Come on, man. Like at some point that's coming up. She's 29. The 3 kids got to be under 10. I mean, what were you going to do long term? Really, what you're chasing here, just be honest, it's intimacy.
Intimacy.
How could I get her back? I'm not going to recommend that. What? I mean, why do you want her back? That's the question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Why do you want her back after reading this? That'd be my question. Now, this is one of those, well, why would I write you if I get these letters sometimes? Well, if I talk to you in a coaching session, will I get her back? No. We got to figure out what your problem is. Here, it sounds like you're desperate. It sounds like you haven't been with someone in a while. Why would you be settling for this? Now, he did mention he's from a really small town.
Okay.
So I've talked about this before of like 3,000.
Okay.
I don't even know if that's predominantly male or not. Because sometimes it's a working community or something like oil industry or things like that.
Sure.
So totally understand when there's, not a lot of fish in the sea. So maybe move. But I would not recommend tactics to get her back. But if I was, I would say with an individual like this, you'd probably have to get down in the snake pit and probably create some kind of Facebook posts or something like that. I don't ever recommend that. That might work. It also might make an ass out of you. Right now, if she's happy with this 40-something-year-old guy, why? For the latter theme, would an accountability letter help showcasing that I now understand that she felt her emotional needs weren't met and my part in that? It'll make her feel really good that you send that to her. And if anything ends up happening in a negative way with this guy that she's with now, she might give you a call. So sure, it might put you in a backup role if that's what you're looking for. Would I recommend it? No, because I promote dignity, pride, and a set of balls. I mean, that's accountability letter from what you wrote. I don't know if you did anything really wrong. Now, like if you're in a 5-year relationship and you cheat and her best friend finds out, write a fucking accountability letter. Okay? This, what are you sorry for? Should I continue to ignore her message or apply the simple closed-ended polite response? I would ignore because I would move forward and move on and bet on yourself meeting someone better. Should I wait until she probably splits with the rebound guy and engage with her again? I wouldn't wait. I would keep dating and keep your options open and embrace being single. But here's the other thing. I wouldn't anticipate, this rebound guy's just dust. This guy could end up marrying her and be the one.
So what are you waiting for? Like a year, 2 years? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I wouldn't wait. Now, if she by chance breaks up with this guy and contacts you and you want to entertain things again, just take it one day at a time. I wouldn't recommend it based on what you said. She doesn't sound like a individual that you could have a long-term relationship with. In my head, I know she's not good for me. Right there. Highlight that one. All right. Get a fucking Post-it note. Put it in your car. Put it in your bathroom next to your mirror and read that. In my head, I know she's no good for me. Yet emotionally, part of me still really wants her. Well, that would probably be the middle part of you. Part of that desire is genuine interest, and part of that is attachment limerence. Stop the Facebook stalking. Stop trying to find a reason to get her back. Stop checking out the dude she's with. And I don't want to say the cliche statement, just let it go, but figure out why you really want her back. Like, be honest with yourself. A lot of guys in these situations will be like, it's intimacy. Okay? If that's the case, bet on yourself meeting someone else. If you wanted to book a live coaching session and go deeper and more in depth in some of these, I'd have to ask you more questions. But why are you chasing someone like this? I know she's not good for me. I've never pursued a woman and I'm like, I know she's not good for me. Right? As a girlfriend? What are you doing here? This is one of those cases. If you think I went a little bit hard on you, I'm just doing it for your own good. Now, if this was like you call in, like I'm doing now, or some people call in, I wouldn't make a fool out of you if you had your video on. I'm going to be a little bit softer, but you wrote what you wrote. And a lot of times what people tell me, just be honest, please. Right? And surprisingly, when I get emails back, some stuff like this, they're like, thanks, man. I needed to hear that, actually. I feel bad sometimes afterwards, but this is how you look at it from a different lens, from a different perspective. Because this whole idea where you built this case of, you're building a whole case in the beginning of how bad she is. If you're going to fight for some kind of relationship, most of us guys get attached to sex, especially goods. Absolutely. That's fine. It's totally fine. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that's okay. Just be honest. That's why you're getting back. Don't make it out to be like, oh, I was so good to her. Oh, this or that. It's like, why are you and when someone's with someone else and they're on Facebook and they're official and you start looking the guy up and putting him down, not a good look. Because that dude's going, yeah, man, got me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Come on. Really? Anyone we got 15 on deck right now. If anyone wants to talk about the relationship right now, I probably got another 40 minutes or so, but you can come on and talk about it. But this gets back to the attachment thing, right? Like, this is a classic example. Well, she's attachment style. Great. You've identified her as a negative attachment style. So why would you want to be with her? Because everything's going to All right, so this is a classic example. Everything that happened here, if they got back together, would happen again. She's one of those like, oh, you don't like me, you don't care about me, let me get back on deck and just hook up with someone else. And I'm not the one to go, oh, she's for the streets or something like that, right? I'm not going to say that. That's how she operates. And you know what? She gets guys. Oh, I think it's just negative attachment theory. No, actually, that's the way she pursues men and she gets them. That's how she got you. Mm-hmm. And then when that's where you lost it, where you're like, I'm not going to sit. You're going to have to earn my empathy. Well, you got 3 kids. Just for the record, I'll never be a father figure to them. Okay, you ready to go on a date?
Yeah.
Now, that's a conversation you might have 3 or 4 dates down, just to see what you guys like each other and have that conversation. But even if she's like, oh, yeah, I understand. That's cool. I don't think that's a good thing. Because even if she doesn't want you to be their father figure, just the fact that you have that stern opinion means like you don't want any part of them. Right? I would think if you were a single mom, which I have no idea what that's like to be, that you'd want some guy that's mildly interested in seeing the kids. Not on the first date, but like not a declaration statement.
Later
like
on
that.
down the line.
Does that make? I mean,
Yeah.
if I was a single dad and the woman was like, I don't ever want to be a mother figure to your kids. If I was attracted to her, I'd be like, yeah, no problem. But I wouldn't think like, this is a long-term one. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a single dad, but I would think to myself, yeah, let's go out and have fun, hon.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Just for what it is.
And then if I had like, I was airing out some problems from work, because men have problems too. And I was like in an emotional state and you went, yeah, I'm going to just set a real big boundary on this one and say that I don't want to listen to this right now, but down the road, I could be that person. What do I have to do for you to listen to me when I have problems? You weren't up for that relationship, man. So sometimes people, hindsight, you're lonely or you miss intimacy, or you're just like, if you're an analytical or intelligent person, sometimes you're trying to figure it out. It's like, it's not that complicated. You guys weren't a good match. And you really didn't like her that much, to be honest. But dissecting that for your wrong moves, man, that's tough. Attachment style change with each experience, in my opinion. I agree with Laquita. I agree 100%. So I just, if attachment styles change with an experience, right? Why go to them? Why not just discuss the experience?
Right.
It just complicates
Instead of labeling every experience.
You know why people use it? Because it makes you sound smarter. You're using a clinical term that's in textbooks. Exes are always abusive to single moms. It's a broad statement.
Yeah,
exes are always abusive to single moms. I don't know. I just think that if you're going to date someone that's got kids, just know what you're in for, and it's going to be different. But if someone's like, I just got to have an abusive relationship, there's some lies up front, come on, man, big time run. Don't put yourself in danger. Some people really like to complicate their life. What's up, Eduardo Martinez? Petty Betty, how are you?
What's up, Petty Betty?
I would block her ass on Facebook and everything. It's probably one of the hardest things people have. I mean, it's literally a dose of crack cocaine, New Jack City style. Post breakup is just,
dude.
It's the worst thing to do too, dude. And you know what's funny is when I've referenced my bad breakup so many times, especially like some of the regulars here, right? Have no charge or anything for it. When Facebook kind of started was right when I broke up. It's like 10 or 11. It's been like 11 years or 12 years. And even when it started, it wasn't that big.
I remember when you first got it, you had to have like a university email.
Oh, that's way long time. So I didn't have that, but it was just starting to get kind of like popular right when I broke up. And I remember I had an account, and then my ex, who didn't like it but went on, I just saw some posts right away. And I just intuitively knew, I don't want to see this.
Right.
I remember, I think a friend wrote something like, oh, don't worry, we'll find you someone fun, and like some loser friend. Look at me being bitter, right? She was a loser though. Yeah, she was, and she was a little hoe. Her friend, and I was like, I read that, and like I said, intuitively, I went, done. Just don't want to
deal.
Yeah, I just knew. But other people are like, what did that mean? Were they trying to get my attention? I don't care what it was. I didn't feel good from that. Like, I don't want to know anything. Don't tell me nothing. Hey, you want some insight on your ex-girl? No, I don't want anything. What's that mean? Crypt mode, crypt code, cryptic.
Yeah.
Remember Tales from the Crypt?
Oh yeah.
They'll post a meme. I always say Memmy. B makes fun of me. I didn't even know what that was for years. People were like, oh, a meme? I'm like, huh? You'll feel like they're talking about you. It's a shame how people waste their time. Get yourself busy with something that interests you for yourself. And there's, go for a walk, go for a run, get out of the house, take a cold shower. You can do a lot of things, but you gotta get off that. But it's the hardest thing for people to do. When Mac yells like that, I feel bad for the sender. Dude, when I'm the one reading it, though,
It's tough love, man.
exactly. Why? For what purpose? He needs to block her and delete her number. Most of us guys get attached to SEI. So we talked about this sex, right? Dignity and pride is good, but self-love is the most important quality. Well, people just identify with different things. Sometimes people will be like, I already have self-love, she probably doesn't even know he's feeling this way, and that's so sad.
Could be.
You're right. Who's Luna? I don't know if there's a Luna on here. It's hard when you get attached to the kids and you break up. So I'm not wanting to be a father figure. Makes sense, but he should have just said wanted to hook up, nothing more. Brian Union, I agree. I agree with you, bud. Like, that's all I'm saying. That statement where you were like, I'm setting a firm boundary here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. But then now your feelings are hurt when she rotates out. She's 29, man. She's got doesn't have the rest of her life to find someone else. And I'm okay. Here's the thing. There's all this negativity about these women that are for the streets, or they have their hoe phase or whatever, right? So what? Who do you want to be with? Let's get around in a campfire and just talk about, these hoes, this. It's like, whatever. There's all kinds of different women out there. What are you going to filter for? What are you going to date? Right? If I look at this, it looks like she's a bit aggressive. She's promiscuous. She doesn't hold back. Guess what? She's not a virgin anymore. The secret's out. She's she's looking for someone. She's aggressive. And this is what happens with guys like that. Guys, and I'm not talking about the guy that wrote this, but a lot of guys, they're a little bit less aggressive, more reserved. They love a woman like this because it's just a yellow brick road. It's like, oh, cool. I don't even have to try. Like, oh, you wanted me to come over? Sure, that's great, hun. Great, we hooked up. Oh, wait, intimacy was a little bit this. Oh, great. And then it's like, she's already with someone else? Thought you were special. If it starts that way for you, generally, that's, if she's aggressive with you from the get-go, texting you double time, love bombing you, she's probably that way with other guys. And the idea that she just kind of said, well, all my other guys are not fun, and that's why I broke up with them. You're next. So answer my question. If a girl hooks up on the first date, does that make her not girlfriend material? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
It makes her cooperative.
Nice word.
I'm joking. I don't think so. I think that especially when you get into your mid-20s, that's for the individual to decide. I wouldn't say that's personally for me. And
if things are going good, and
especially the older you get, I don't think you'd care as much. I think it's a 20-something thing when you get really upset about that. But you have to have your own morals and standards. I've had a girlfriend that we didn't hook up for a month, dating, very conservative, totally fine with it. I was actually talking to other girls at the same time, and I was into her, but I wasn't pressed.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't upset. That was the kind of person she was, and I respected the hell out of her. And then when we were in a relationship, I knew she was highly loyal. I had another girlfriend that I actually did hook up maybe the second time we went out, and it was quick and easy, and I think she was pretty promiscuous in her past. I kind of know that, and I was okay with it. I was okay with it because I felt like I knew her well enough, and that the relationship transpired. So putting rules like that in place really limits you. But you got to set your own. What I would say, Petty Betty, about that question, it's a good question. Don't let Andrew Tate or someone on YouTube decide what your rules are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you this. Guys might say one answer to that or no answer to that, but it depends on how good the intimacy was and how high the attraction is.
Yeah.
Like I always mention, dude, if I could give advice to women, it's like, well, be good at certain things.
She was just asking for a friend. So.
She was asking for a friend?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. Going back to it's hard when you get attached to the kids. I've had a couple clients that are men that are like, it's just hard, man. I was close to a kid or something like that. Again, you could go on YouTube and there's a bunch of negativity about that. I think that is a real thing. And I've told guys before when I've been coaching them, I'm like, look, if you want to reach out and say, hey, I want to see little guy or whatever, that's a call you need to make for your own morals and values. But if you feel like it's not going to work or we're not in that place, that's okay too. And just realize you're not crazy for feeling that way. I hooked up with my ex-girlfriend on the second date. That's fine. Second date and first date are not, it's not too different.
They're not too far apart.
I mean, it's also like what's the date, right? Here's one. If there's drinks involved.
Right.
I mean, it could be declared before the date, like, oh, I never do. And it's like, have a couple cocktails and everyone loosens up, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm suggesting that, but
it happens a lot.
Right. To hook up with someone depends on the level of maturity from both sides. First date, second date, still has my girlfriend for 2 years. All I'm saying. And that's okay. I think I have it's funny. One of my cousins that I'm pretty distant with, meaning that I just don't know him that well. But my other cousin, his sister, I haven't talked to her for years, actually, just from living in a different continent. I remember she just came out, like they had their wedding, his wedding, her brother. Now I'm getting fucking confused myself. This cousin of mine had his wedding.
Right.
And then his sister, who's my cousin also, was like, just comes over to the table. She's like, and they hooked up the first night and met at a bar. I'm like, God, you're telling everyone that?
At their wedding?
It was. And I mean, they have 3 kids and they're married now and they met in their 20s. But she said that and I was like, whoa. But get away from the labels. Stick with the attraction and what people tell you they do, right? I mean, that girlfriend that I had that we hooked up, I think, like I said, the second date. And the first date wasn't even called a date. It was more like lunch or something like that. It's kind of spontaneous.
Lunch date.
It wasn't like a, hey, do you want to do lunch this week? It was more like we were at the same gym and I was like, you want to go to lunch afterwards? It was casual. And then we went out after that, like maybe 2 weeks later and hooked up. But we also hooked up and it wasn't like that was my girlfriend immediately after. There was some vetting being done on both ends, right? So I would say if you're going to hook up on the first date, it doesn't mean that you're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend on the first date, right? Petty Betty says, if I feel like it, I'll do it. Petty Betty, I believe you. I think is sad women has devalued themselves for the guys to laugh up. But it's true. Some women don't have filters. And some men don't.
Sure.
So, we get into this thing now where it's like, oh, I wouldn't do that, or they would do this, or it's like, focus on what your morals and values are immediate. If that's how you want to operate, fine. Deal with the consequences either way. There's no one path for everyone. I mean, to think that you have the secret formula of intimacy and relationships, good luck. It's so interesting now because the last maybe 3 or 4 months, I've used Instagram more for coaching and stuff like that, and just check posts. I think I've told you this before. Like all these people that are self-improvement people are involved in relationship advice now. So they're wearing like 10 different hats. Some guy like this, Mark Manson's not so bad because he wrote a book about dating before, but it just seems like all these people are all giving relationship advice. They're regurgitating books like The 5 Love Languages or these other things. And then people are getting like, oh, that's not what I did. I did things wrong, or I have to, or me and my partner have to do this because Tom Ballou said this in his thing. Book. And they do so well as a couple because they've been together 20 years. Yeah, right. Everyone has problems in their relationships. And the ones that do really well, someone gives in usually. That's how it works. Oh, it's all about better communication. Yeah, communication's key and stuff like that. But at some point, someone's going to have to like negotiate and get the short end of the stick on where are we going for Christmas this year? Your parents or my parents? Those kinds of things seem small to some people. For some people, they're huge. So it's different in every relationship. I just think personally that there's just going to be shorter relationships in the future. I just think that. I was super attached to her kids. She brought them last month, but still wanted interest in repairing the relationship, but didn't mind me having a relationship with them. Super confusing. I don't know if it's confusing in the sense that if you were really good around her kids, that's a positive.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you want to get back with her, that's a big positive, right? That you're genuinely okay with the kids. And like I've always said this, you like the kids. Mm-hmm. You don't, it's not like a chore for you to hang out. It doesn't even mean that you're good with kids. That's another thing. But you just, I like these kids and I care about them. Laquita says sex can be a deal breaker for women too. So if you're at the point on the first or second date where you want to check that off the list and see if it's going to work, then so be it.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I think one of the best points a female, and I don't know who it was in the live stream a long time ago though.
She said this though.
Because it was like the guys that were on the live stream just weren't, and I wasn't thinking that way either, just as a guy, but this guy was going on about an ex being with a ex-con, and the guy was like a loser. The guy was, in and out of jail, and he had done all these crimes, and I don't know if he was abusive or not, but it was just like
there was a list of things.
Yeah. There's a list of all these things, and he's like, I can't believe she'd be with him, and then he's going into, she had emotional stability issues, attachment. The guy was a manipulator. She's going into all these things, and some woman on the live stream just goes, it was about the D.
Exactly.
And I was like,
he was bringing it, man.
Yeah,
so like,
okay, yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, and the guy that was talking about that was like, could be,
yeah, could be, or probably.
Because you just think on the opposite end,
right,
like as a guy,
mm-hmm.
like I said, it's just kind of funny because it was like he had this whole. The guy's an ex-convict. The guy's a loser. The guy's it, and she's been riding him from jail. I don't remember who it was. Petty Betty said it was me. And it's like she must have loved the D. I was like, possibly. You didn't throw that into the maybes.
You didn't throw that one. Yeah,
it's like I said, everyone builds a case for whatever they want to believe. Mac loves to speed in alleyways until trucks almost back out into him. You remember that story? Jesus. That's an old one, man. The best advice I got about relationships, go on bad dates. By you, Mac. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
They're the best stories, man.
Mm-hmm.
Does B really like Natalie from Love Advice?
I don't know who that is. Honestly, I don't know.
Oh, here we go, dude. He's a little shy. That's why he's not on camera.
I have no idea. I have no idea who. I'm being honest with you.
Bright red right now.
No idea who she is.
It's the one you got a poster of?
Oh, that Natalie. Okay.
I don't blame him. I'm sure she's lovely when the cameras are not on her. She looks like she can set up a camping tent with zero effort. That's an interesting description.
What?
I understand what you mean now. I had to process that for a minute. Yeah, the alleyway, what he's talking about, Eduardo Martinez, it's kind of random in this chat right now, but years back, I don't know what it has to do with the breakups and stuff, but years back, when I was in high school, 16.
Mm-hmm.
They had like an alley where I think this is what you're talking about, Martinez. Where when people's backyards have an alleyway that you can pull out, so it's narrow. And I was speeding down that coming out of school. I was like 16, not one of my brighter moments. And I had a Bronco, like an '88 Bronco, so it was old then. It was like late '90s, so it was like 10 years old then, right? But I had like 10 people in the car. When you're in high school and you're like,
oh, you load them in.
And they're like, oh, you got the big car so you can give everyone a ride, right? People that weren't even friends, right? And it's like, yeah, go ahead. I'll give you a ride home. I just got my car. I was like, get on in, man. I had someone sitting on the console, everything. And I'm like, like going through this alley and someone just starts to pull out. And
you got nowhere to go.
Yeah. Remember, it was like a Subaru wagon or something like that. It was like nowhere to go. So what do you do? What do you do, B?
Speed up.
That's why I have you on this show, because you're fucking smart, dude. You can process quick. Yeah, you have no choice. Instantly, I sped up rather than slow down. If I would have locked it up, I would have went straight into the back of the. I sped up and I just missed him by an inch, right? See? I sped up to get around him, and then the guy followed us to like a red light because we were in a town area. And he's like, "Hey, man,"
he was heated,
right? And I have all these, I have all these friends in the car and shit. Right. He's like, and afterwards I was like, yeah,
like ready to go.
Yeah, but like just you're just pumped that you fucking lived
too. Like, yeah.
And I also was like, dude, the guy, if I'd done that, the guy on the console would have went through the window.
Oh yeah.
Fucking stupid. I don't even like them. Thanks, Eduardo, for remembering this one, right? And so we get to the red light and I have all their friends in the car, and I was like, yeah, like in my head, like fucking made it, like. And I'm thinking,
we lived.
Yeah, like in my head, and I'm like, and the guy pulls up, hey, man, don't ever come across that alley again, man. We got kids down here. And I'm like, okay. My friend's like, hey, fuck you. And I'm like, hey, bro, like I was wrong.
Right.
Like I knew I was wrong. I'm like, I was wrong. I wasn't a punk kid like that. I was like, I'm sorry. And he was right. Looking like if that was me now and I had the house and I was pulling out, I'd be like, hey, dude, let me have a little chat with you.
So it's
but now, like in America now, I wouldn't confront a truck of 10 kids now. Probably a few of them have 9mm on them or something, dude.
Or they're just ready to throw down. Like
yeah,
all 10 of
dude.
Them,
I told my friend, I'm like, just chill, bro. It's like, it's cool. It's my fault. Thanks for that, Eduardo. Yeah, that was a good one. That was one of my golden moments. Yeah. I think you're so cool when you're that age and you got your car. It goes both ways. It would facts. It goes both ways. If I could like share a snippet of my dating history, you'd see that I'm super duper shallow, but I'm also very particular about morality. Hence the reason I'm single. Well, tell us more, Laquita. Would you like to come on? Would you like me to invite you on the live stream here? There we go.
Let's unpack it a little bit.
A little bit of time. I'm super duper shallow.
She's like, no.
I don't blame you. What does it mean to be super duper shallow? No, she did right now. Yeah, it's on delay for my end. What's your thoughts on multiple breakups? We definitely had a few.
Like getting back together, that kind of, yeah.
I just feel like if you're not fixing the problem originally, so if it's not a clear problem,
it's just gonna continue.
Yeah, if you kind of just making up and forgiving each other shallowly just because but there's really a problem. Because there's sometimes a problem when you get space and you're like, I'm just being petty. It's not that big a deal.
Right.
I overreacted, but there are things that
are serious issues.
Yeah, they just aren't going away. But like Brian, when you came on before and you were talking about your schedules being kind of messed up and it never getting better after 2 years, that's not something you see because you just deal with it from the get-go, but it can be a problem, especially if when you're seeing each other, you're tired and she's up. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's like you have like
you're on different wavelengths.
Yeah, you're like there's certain parts of the day where I'm on, like, you guys are like, damn, you're a night owl. No, it's the morning for me. right? It's right now it's 1:51 p.m. where I'm at. So, you know, if you catch me at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I'm usually in bed. When you guys are night owls that are on this live stream, when I was back in California, I had a completely different group of people on the live stream. So, Laquita, your team of meeting someone that has all the morals and values will come when you least expect. And people have different morals and values.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing. You know, everyone's getting imposed with famous people's morals and values. Oh, this is what someone else thinks
This is how it should be.
Yeah, this is what they think.
Okay, dude.
Clutch is probably hiding in the comments, waiting for drop a smart remark.
We're waiting. Where's Clutch at?
He's a sniper. Yeah, he's a smart guy. In all seriousness, though, that guy's story and the way he wrote it is actually really good.
You can pretty much unpack the whole thing. So
no, because you think about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't write that out and you just talk to friends and you give them snippets and you talk about it, but like, even though someone's like, oh, you got upset or you raised your voice or this or that, it's like, wouldn't it be easier to take that criticism when it's anonymous?
Sure.
Than from your friend?
Mm-hmm.
It's harsh when a friend, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
because you think immediately in your head, you're like, well, what about when you're
not on my team right now?
What about when I know about you.
Yeah.
It's like, your girl's not even cute, dude. You know, you get advice from a friend. You're like, I remember that. There was a friend of a friend.
If it's not what you want to hear.
Yeah. It was like a friend of a friend. We were all watching football or something. And he was like, oh yeah, when I got my girl back, I just did this, I did that. And I was like, I don't think we're in the same league, man. Like, in my head, like, this is the kind of guy that's like, I'm not gonna go.
Don't go.
Fucking man.
No,
he
go
just
into
always
it.
had.
Let's go.
He just always had like XX sweatpants on. You know, like drinking was the biggest part of the week for him, right? So just don't get advice from people you don't respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't
get advice from people you don't respect. Because I was saying, it's like, oh yeah, okay, your girl came back. Okay, sure, good. Situation's totally different, and you think it's like, oh, just do this, man.
It works for me.
Does feelings ever be the same after being apart if you do get back together, or do you like to be around each other and think, I'm not feeling this anymore? That's a good question. I've had plenty of people say that. A lot of times when people get back together, because people ask me this, I've had people go, what's the odds of
the
people that,
give me the exact
I don't
percentage.
know what it is, but people get back together and then they talk to me about their problems when they get back together. I'd say it's 50-50 that you're gonna, and that's a educated guess that you're gonna maybe break up again.
But those feelings will change too, depending on how long
circumstances have to change.
Sure.
That's why I always bring up, like, alcohol is a very clear-cut problem, right? Mm-hmm. It's been a problem in a relationship for a while. So if you can eliminate that,
that's a huge thing. Yeah.
Right. You're also actually going to get a different person. Right? Because
that can change. Yeah, that can change.
Are you a different person when you're on alcohol? Like, I don't drink that often, and I don't feel like I'm that much different. But probably if you put a video camera, you're like, oh shit, Max had a few. It's been a little, you know what I'm saying? So other people are dramatic, right? So that's a clear-cut problem. If you got back together, you erase that. Now, if it's a personality or a morals and values or religious issue, good luck. Now, if it's communication issues, what are the what if it's, then you get deeper and you're like, it's jealousy. Well, then you have to realize, am I being jealous because of valid reasons, such as her meeting some guy at the beach and selling your car?
Right.
You know, like doing some weird things that you are like,
okay.
Right? Or are you just a jealous person and you think that that's how all men are in relationships?
Because of your past, whatever.
Then you got to go to work on yourself and go, So some guys, it's like, oh, I'm jealous. If you're gonna date attractive women, you better be able to be secure with other
Buckle
guys
up.
checking her out, or hitting on her. So you got to get to the problems. But I would say once you do break up, if it's been a month or 3 weeks, you just probably need time to process missing each other, or to process the problems and to outweigh the bad from the good. So being apart is actually going to do both of you good, to see how much you appreciate each other. So then if you get back together, but if you just get back together as a knee-jerk reaction to being lonely or sad, they haven't let go of what they broke up with you for. So like, if you, like, for example, you had communication issues. Let's say that you got back with her and then you were like really making an effort to communicate better. The minute you just did one thing that was
going to be like, oh, you
not
changed.
her communication, she'd be like, oh,
right.
See,
you're exactly who you were before.
I knew it. But I would say if it's one of those things where you get back together and you're in a different time in your life, in a different space, and you don't work the same hours, or if that was a problem, then that can change things. If you guys had, an hour distance before, where now you're 10 minutes apart, that can change things. So I still can't believe you still have the button-up shirt that you had since a teenager, Mac. I heard it still fits perfectly. Wow, Eduardo's a real fan, man. I have some clothes from when I was like 19, 20. Yeah, absolutely. My San Diego days. Yeah. I haven't gained. Yeah, I'd say I've been in the same weight range for 20 years. What does it mean to be super duper shallow? It means I need to have a strong desire to be physical.
Does that mean you're shallow?
Well, I like the way you operate, Laquita. Then you have the morality issue. Most shallow people don't value the same things I value. I have a strong desire to be physical. Does that mean intimacy?
That's what I would assume.
No, I like to hit them. When we broke up in January, but talked the entire time and got back together in February. So I don't know. So Brian, when we have our session and we talk, we'll go a little deeper on that. Like when you got back together, what did you get back together for, and what were the problems then, and then how did they come back up? So if you already broke up, were they the same problems before that you broke up with again? Right. And a lot of times it is, because like I said, once you throw out like, I'm going to break up with you, things get sensitive. Because when you have a moment where you've broken up before, it hurts. You get scared, you get upset, and now you don't
want to go through those feelings again.
Yeah. And so if, let's say you dug in on something where she's talking to her ex-boyfriend, and you dug in on that, like, look, like, you can't do this anymore. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? He's my friend. We have a business together, da-da-da. And then you get into one of those, well, I'll break up. And then you guys break up for 5 days and get back together. She didn't really want to stop talking to the guy. Maybe 2 months later, she's not talking to him, but you're still checking her phone. See how that works?
You kind of just caved in the moment.
Well, you're still don't trust her.
Right, and then it relapses later on, yeah.
What about the SF hat? Remember that story? I think it belonged to your grandpa, right? Jesus, man. Yeah, thank you.
You still have that hat? Where's that hat?
I do. I think it's downstairs, actually. Yeah. That's grandpa's hat, yeah. Didn't fix the problem, but her feelings didn't change that time. But this breakup is completely different. Intimacy, yes. Affection as well. By the way, I would love to chat, but you'd hear all the radio traffic in the background at my work. No problem. Maybe another time.
If you're at work, I mean.
Yeah, no problem, hon. I think that gets underrated, though, because a lot of guys assume that women want to hold back from the intimacy. And I think once women get to like mid-20s, late 20s, maybe I'm assuming some things, maybe, once they've had a taste of good intimacy, it's just like men. I think that it's underrated how much guys are just more upfront about it. Women are more cryptic, I think. But I think now there's more women that are upfront about it. And guys like that. Oh, that's good. Intimacy, yes. Oh, I didn't even see this. It's crazy how politics have played a huge role in relationships nowadays. Remember that one story where the guy was dating a woman who had different views in politics? It led him to breaking up. Yeah, that's a good memory. He was young. He was in his early 20s too.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually half Thai.
Really?
He was American, but he was half Thai. He was all excited because he was like, when we did the live coaching session, I think he was like 21, 22. He was like, I'm a half Thai, man. I'm Thai.
Yeah.
But he was like, I grew up in America,
Right,
so
right.
I don't know anything about like living in Thailand and stuff. It was kind of funny. But he was like, he was going on about how it took him a long time, but he did a lot of research and he was for Trump. And his girlfriend would like scream at him in the car, and they'd have to like pull over, and like she'd have these heated debates.
Right.
Like, I can't believe you'd vote for him and all this other stuff. And I was like, I mean, if it's that heavy and you can't agree to disagree in your relationship, then yeah, you're going to have to break up. I mean, and he was like, it's not that he was very diligent about his work and kind of a conservative dude, but like, I would never, I'm not that much into politics, so it's not a deal breaker, but I wouldn't be with someone that's passionate about politics, because we wouldn't, if you were passionate about politics, and they're like, you got to have an opinion. No, I don't. I have an opinion, but I don't want to get in an argument over it with you.
It's not that big a deal to you. Right.
Yeah, just my thing is control what you can control. And, if you're going to make a difference in the world, it's probably not going to be with talking. Let's just have a conversation. The classic, we need to have a conversation. It's like, who are you as an individual? Think about that in the mirror. You're gonna change people's point of views globally. Get over yourself. We need to start a conversation. Be the best person you can be as an individual. How about that one?
Right.
Help your friends and neighbors, a random.
Volunteer at a homeless shelter.
I'll tell you, seriously.
Do something like that. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to come back to this whenever I do get my book out. Your most important moment's probably when someone's doing your eulogy, man. You're not going to be around at some point in your life, and hopefully it's a long time from now. But when they do your eulogy, they're not going to go, this guy started a conversation, and the whole world changed. It's like, no, right? Yeah. He used to volunteer at the soup kitchen on Sundays. That's impressive.
Okay, now we're talking about something,
right? Yeah. He was a volunteer at the YMCA for 2 years,
helping kids.
I actually did that, so volunteer of the year. Still have that little trophy.
Volunteer of the year. I like it.
I was a basketball coach for multiple youth teams. No kids on the team. Will that become more and more prominent with this new generation? I think so. I think that there's going to be a lot of people fighting over politics. It's just like, what are you going to actually do, though, to be a better person? Come on, man. I'm going to tell you a story about that in a minute. I'll finish this chat, but I was thinking about this when I went on my morning walk on the beach. I'm 36 and she's 28. I think she expected me to be more emotionally immature than him. See, that's, Brian, we're going to talk deeper about that. I mean, what does emotionally mature even mean?
Right.
So we get these broad general statements. Let's get deeper on, like, what does that mean? What do you mean, like, more emotionally immature? Like, specifically? Because, Laquita could say, like, oh, that means this. And
I think he said he was a little hot-headed. Maybe.
Oh, I missed that?
No, before, when we were talking with him before, I think he mentioned that. So maybe that's something to do with that? I don't know. Yeah,
you'd have to, instead of saying emotionally mature, I'd and this is a live stream, so you don't have to, maybe you don't want to air out the individual things. You got to get into the nitty-gritty. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Don't put yourself down, Brian. You're being young heart, who you are. Somebody who doesn't appreciate that isn't worth your time. Never change who you are to fit someone else's expectation. I'm just going to push back a little bit on that, Eduardo, but I like the positivity. I'm just going to say, unless you know, like, sometimes out of a breakup, you're like, no, actually, I agree. I want to be better. And it gives you space and time that maybe you were overreacting to some things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not suggesting that. Sometimes you need time. You don't
Time
want
to,
to
like,
conform. Well, you don't want to conform just because you broke up, but you might look at it like, no, I do have some issues with jealousy and rage or anger. Like I was out of line. That's the whole point when like this guy wrote this story and everyone's like, wow, you were hard on him. At least he's being vulnerable. Now he can see another perspective of this, of what he might want to look for. They love it, actually, but then when compatibility isn't there, they become impossible to get rid of. I had my fair share of Facebook stalkers. The story earlier, I see this a lot. The man wants something light until she moves on. Then it's the end of the world. Purely ego, in my opinion. I don't know if it's just ego, but like I said, it's ego, but it's also, if there's a lot of guys out there, it's like, if you're the only show in town and they haven't hooked up in a while,
right.
It's water on the savannah. The odds of Max screaming, "Give me a sign." That was one of my most popular videos of him.
Was that the one about you coming to Thailand, or why you came here?
Give me a sign. Having access to his ex-girlfriend's email, that computer on that computer still shocks me. What are the odds of that happening? Is that considered a synchronicity? That's absolutely a synchronicity, bro. It was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was, yeah. It was also very telling. Someone put on the comment for that video, "This is mildly illegal."
What?
Or "This is borderline illegal." It's like, oh God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you hiding? Oh, okay, this is a story I'll close with. Getting a little parched. And I have to go somewhere. This morning I was on the beach, right? And there's little crabs all over the beach, right? There's a lot of stuff on the beaches here. The beach is pretty nice, Thailand. I will say that. And inside the water, where there's this like inlet, like where
Creek
a canal,
water.
a canal is what I want to say. The water goes out into the sea. I was walking by and there's a big crab. Usually there's all these little small ones, but a big one. And it was tied up like on the pinchers. And it almost looked like, when you go to a seafood restaurant and they have them tied up.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought for a minute, that's weird. And I stopped for a minute and I thought, that's fucked up, and I'm going to try to get so I thought maybe one of these seafood, here's how you go and go, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. The crab can't talk.
Right.
But my thought was maybe one of these seafood restaurants threw them in the canal because no one ate them and it's an old crab. I don't know. Or someone on the boats that catch crab dropped them, but maybe
he escaped.
But it was, the plastic was around it, right? So I could pick it up. So I was picking it up. I was trying to undo the thing to free him because that's who I am now, right? And
rescuer.
And I'm like, he's going like this, and I was like,
stop fighting, man.
This is a good story. So it's got like these. It's a good one.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So it's wrapped around the talons or whatever you want to call it. That's
pinchers.
Pinchers. That's a good one. And then it was around the back, and I couldn't get it undone the way it was tied up. It was like a little rope, and I kept trying to do it, and I walked away, and I'm like, God, I wish I would have had like some little scissors. I wish
pocket knife.
And it just bothered my conscience that I could let this poor crab go that was in the water, like being tied up like that, and it was around its back. So I walked away and it fucking bothered me. I walked back after like 10 steps and I'm like, I got a key on me for my bike. I'm like, I could saw it off. So I get over there. I have to put the crab on its back. I saw off like do you understand where I'm coming from?
Cool. Yeah, I'm following.
Because you're like this.
I'm seeing where this is going.
So I finally get it undone and the crab's loose.
You freed him.
I freed him, right? So this Thai kid that's, when I say kid, he's like 19, 20 or something like that. He's coming off the longtail boats. And the crab's on the side on the sand now in the open. You know where I'm going with this, right? So it's on the side in the open, and I'm trying to get it in the water.
Right. You're like,
And the
come on,
crab,
little guy.
when the crab like tries to get you, and he's backing up. I'm just trying to get him back in the water. This kid sees me like trying to get the crab. He comes over, he looks, he picks him up, he picks him up by the talons, and he goes to his friends. Yeah, like lunch. And I'm like, part of me is like, hey man, just let him go. Like I just did, how can I explain to you that I just spent 10 minutes trying to free this guy? You show up and it's lunch. I'm dead serious. This is an absolute true story this morning. I swear to God. Right? And he picks it up and he's yelling to all the friends on the long, how they're all buddies on the beach. And, and he's like holding it up, and I'm like, at least that crab will have free fucking pinchers till the end, right? I mean, it was inevitable anyways, but I thought about this. I thought about this paradox to it. It was because to me, I was like, I'm not going to talk him out of keeping it because he just grabbed it. He didn't say anything to me. He was like, oh.
This is their lunch.
Yeah, he was all excited. And it was a bigger crab, right? And this is exactly what happens when I do coaching with people or I help people through some of their things and they go back into bad environments. Or they go and watch a bad YouTube video that gives them bad advice. It's like, it's exactly what happens. It's like you freed them, but someone just swooped them up.
Lunch.
Because that's what's happening. People come back to me sometimes and they're like, I watched this video. I'm like, stop watching so many fucking videos.
Unless it's your videos, then it's all right.
It's not just that. It's just, there's just bad advice, man. I know it was bad advice. Emotional maturity is a person that can manage any issue in a constructive manner and can commit to resolve an issue from different perspective. Says Webster's Dictionary. I assume the way you wrote that. Emotional maturity is a person that can manage any issue. Any issue? I think that's a little stretch.
Most. We'll say most.
In a constructive manner. What does constructive manner mean, Joe Helka? I'm going to put you on the spot here. And can commit to resolves an issue from different perspective. Well, that's a heavy plate of I don't know. I would say that nobody can handle anything with, bulletproof emotional maturity. Yeah.
There's going to be something.
The problem with change, you always feel like once you slip, once it's over. Once you slip, once it's over.
Yeah, like you were saying.
I didn't even know the definition. I've been dealing with different girls. She's definitely a big step up, and I blew it. Bullshit. We'll unpack it more, bud. Here's the thing. If you would have read what emotional maturity is or community, it's not going to fix your problem. Your problems are your communication problems or whatever. They're deeper than that. But once you find out what they are, they're fine. They're unique to you. They're based on experiences, not definitions. Let me say that again. If someone says, oh, you're not emotionally mature, your definition of how you became not emotionally mature has nothing to do with the definition in a book. It has to do with your experiences in life. Does that make sense? All you're doing in your life, you take experience, you put it in your conscious mind, and then you say, did I see that before? Oh yeah, I've seen that before. This is what I usually do. So, if someone was in an abusive relationship and their parents were abusive, they have a playbook. Dad always went to a hotel afterwards and didn't come home for 2 weeks. You might be susceptible to doing the same thing. Or you might react how mom reacted. Now, it's not always about your parents. It could be just your aunt and uncle you saw. It could be a TV show you saw. It could be your first relationship. It's not always your parents. But finding out what those experiences were, that's it. That's the goal. We got 14 on deck today. Thanks for the super chat. I really appreciate it, guys. What did we do today? Almost 2 hours. Wow. Huh? B's starting his new channel pretty soon, right?
Sure,
ASMR.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow we'll get into the story of how I met you and where you were at life.
Don't be so dramatic. What is that?
We'll get into it tomorrow
All right.
a little deeper.
All right, we'll unpack it, I
well,
guess.
yeah, no, I mean, people have to know.
Mhm.
It's been a long climb for you.
I guess we'll see.
The story. It's been a lot. I mean,
Don't give away too much. All right.
nope. We're gonna get into it tomorrow, man. We had no guests today, but that was been good, huh? Alepph's all right.
He's doing good.
He's doing real good. Aleph's a genius. He's all right. He'll be on at some point.
Oh, he has to.
He comes on the live streams
Yeah,
sometimes. He has a different name. He jumps in. Oh man, it doesn't happen often when I'm at a loss for words here.
Rarely have I seen that.
Does anyone have any closing questions?
Thanks, Eduardo.
I appreciate you too. It's curtains. 15 on deck. This has been pretty good. Some people were shy today. Are you and B roommates? No.
We were briefly before.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
A couple months, maybe.
Was that like 7 years ago
Probably,
or something?
yeah.
9 years
Maybe
ago?
9 years ago. But not currently.
For a couple months, maybe, huh?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. No, just trying to, yeah, you're right, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I think about it now and I'm like, you get to a certain age and it's hard to do roommates. You definitely, if you're going to do roommates, you definitely have to have separate entrances. I would say that like separate space where like a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Although when I was in college, yeah, the roommates I had were pretty good. I had one that we had a lot of fun. We were buddies. We did a lot of things, but financially it was a problem. The rent wasn't always there.
Oh, he was okay. Yeah,
the rent wasn't always there. Your roommates' problems become your problems, so it's important that that happens. But no. Wow, Skinner, you been on this whole time? Is there a topic you guys want me to touch on in the next day or two? Probably won't be on the weekend. Joe Helka's out.
Sleep time.
Joe. What's the Bulls doing this year? Are they good?
I don't know. I haven't followed the Bulls.
That Bulls. Skinner's from
Oh,
Chicago.
is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a Bulls fan. The sagas of Lonzo Ball. Great player, but always hurt. Bad combination. Just seems like there's a lot of those players now in the league. Oh, I sprained my thumb. I'll be out 3 months. Attachment styles. I see it a lot. Attachment styles and not letting it affect your outlook on exes. Yeah, maybe I'll bring Clutch onto that because he's big on attachment styles.
He likes like using them, labeling.
Oh, he has a sermon on it. He knows them all by heart. And yeah, like I said, I feel like it doesn't do you, it doesn't help you. It almost makes you, it's like name calling. Go ahead, Eduardo. It's like name calling though. Could you, if you had an ex-girlfriend that you cared about, would you go out to your friends and family and call them
whatever.
Preoccupied, anxious attachment, such and such.
No, I mean personally, no, I wouldn't do that.
Even if you did some research, you've had a few situations. It's like, to me, like I said, what's the problems or the issues, or just call them a name that's more common English
than the textbook, like,
Yeah, come on, man. It's like, what? No, I don't teach anymore. I do this full time now. I haven't taught for a year.
Yeah, it's been a year, huh?
Yeah, no, but I did for 10 or 11 years. 10 years. 10 years, but it might have been 11 years. And what about you? You still in Vegas? You still
Vegas.
Professional gambler, right? Eduardo mastered the craps tables at a young age.
Can you master the craps tables?
Yeah, dude. There's a way to roll 7 and 11 every time. And there was a guy on Joe Rogan that's a magician. I forgot which one, the famous one.
David Blaine?
I think it's him. And he claims that he's like, I shouldn't even be saying this because this guy really exists. But he said the guy lived in Vegas for like 10 years and mastered being able to roll the die on anything that he wanted.
I don't know about that.
And he said he had a craps tables in his living room.
I don't know about that. Was he a magician as well?
No, he just said that he mastered the roll by rolling over and over again. Yeah. They banned me in 3 casinos and 1 brothel. Just kidding, right away. Just kidding, right away.
Just one brothel?
Got your name on the wall, huh? I could never live in Vegas because it's just too hot and I don't like to gamble.
It gets cold.
In Vegas?
Yeah.
What's funny, I had a client yesterday. He's in Memphis. And he was like, oh, man, it's freezing tonight. It's like, it got down into the 30s. I was like, I would have no idea.
The desert.
Memphis?
No, I mean Vegas. It's the desert. It gets cold.
Yeah. See, I always thought the desert was hot. I think am I stupid?
No, they get like they get extremes. They get extremes.
You're the first person that told me that I'm stupid for thinking the desert's not cold.
I mean, stupid's not.
How low does Vegas get? 39 Fahrenheit. Wow. That is cold. Shit, man. Do you like Vegas? Because you're from LA originally, right, Martinez? Eduardo Martinez. Yeah, I remember when I lived in San Diego and people from Vegas would be like, God, it's good to be here because the weather's so much better.
Well, that's some of the best weather in the world.
Oh, man, it's excellent. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. Thank you a lot. Thanks, Skinner. Thanks, Eduardo Martinez, Joe Helka. This has been a good one. Thank you for the person that wrote their story in, the Situationship. Laquita, it's been a pleasure. Keep being you. Brian Union, thank you.
I saw Justin Brown on there.
JB, Petty Betty.
Petty Betty is always
one of my favorites. Rye Flint, didn't hear a lot, but thank you for coming on.
Always good to see Rye.
I've adjusted to Vegas. It was a major change, but I believe the move after my breakup helped me out a lot. Absolutely. Environment counts. And I'd say Vegas would be a good environment to be single in.
For sure.
Maybe we'll have you on a show to describe the scene. All right, folks. Take care. It is curtains.
See you guys.